Hello there and welcome back. So in this part we're going to look at this sort of room groove. Now I'm not sure really how this is going to play out, so what we'll do before we do anything too drastic is I'm basically just going to right click. This is the wall, this is the room block. This is all the sort of details from the original sort of blocking out which we haven't actually altered and subtracted from. I'm just going to basically just right click on it. I'm just going to duplicate that, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call this room block original, just in case, and I'm just going to just hide it and just move it to the bottom out of the way, just in case we made it right pig's arse to this sort of room block up here, and we need to sort of get back to a stage we were at before. Now, one thing I have noticed at the moment is this door frame we stuck in, and that's not really of any sort of true dimension or sort of size for that matter. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to basically just move it out of the way for now, because I want to get access to this central line. So I'm just going to drag the middle mouse button over there. I'm going to unclick, unselect, hold down the control key. This is just so I've got just those vertical pieces. Now I'm just going to slide them right out of the way, and we'll worry about the door at a later time. Now, what I think I'm going to do is I've got the room block highlighted, but I've got nothing selected. Now, so therefore, when I do a slice, that's going to affect every poly it hits. So it's also going to affect the ceiling and things, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment because I'm not really sure where this is going. So it's always better to just, in my eyes, plough on with something like this, and then we'll just see how it pans out. So I'm going to turn the snapping on, and I've got grid on. I'm just going to hit the slice tool, and basically I'm just going to cut this room in half. Now that's affected this back wall and the top wall and the back wall as well. So we need to basically split this now into 3 sections. So what we can do, we can select these edges. If you hold down the shift key, you can select multiple edges. Now this is going around this sort of area here, which is in the back where the light's coming down. So there's no top on that at the moment, so there's no issue there. It's coming right down the back there, and it's coming under this step. Now I don't want to touch the bath at all, but I think we're going to have issues if we don't select and do the same to these pieces here. So we may be best just to select all basically those pieces which that cut of ours made. Okay, so it's coming up to the top here. It's also coming up here. Okay, let's go around the back here. So I'm just going to select that as well. So just I basically got what I think is all those dividing pieces. I'm just going to hit the B key and I'm just going to click in the viewport. Now I've got no rounding level selected at this time. I'm going to turn the snapping off. Now I'm going to pull this up and we're just going to see the problems it's going to make. Now it's fine all down here. It's making a few issues around the back here, but to be honest, these polys here aren't going to be seen, so I'm not too worried at this time about that. Now we're bringing it out by sort of 20 centimeters, but that's either side of this line, so that's 40 centimeters right the way across. Now I want this about a foot, I'm thinking, wide, so that's about 12 inches, so half of this is going to be about 6 inches. So I'm just going to stick in 6 inches and just see where that takes us. So now I know basically this area here is a foot wide. So I'm going to hit the spacebar before we do any more damage to this scene at the moment, and we'll just go with that for now. Well, I'm just going to pan around the back here. Now these rear polys, these front polys are fine. These rear polys, and this came from raising the bath concrete section off the floor piece. We're not even going to need them, so I'm going to take this opportunity to delete them, and I'm just going over to edges basically and just checking there's no edges there. And there's a couple of polys, there's a couple of verts down here which we don't really need. But I suppose they're attached to these vertical pieces. Yeah, they're attached to them. So actually I do need them. And just yeah, and that's them bottom edges for these flat face at the back there. So okay, so we're going to delete them. So we're now left with this sort of cutout. Now I don't want to touch this at all, but I want something coming out of this piece here. So we'll worry about that in a moment. I'm going over to polys. Now these three here I definitely need to slice. So let's just try and give you a bit of an understanding of what I'm doing. Basically, when you stand in this room right here, this is where the final render is going to be. It's all going to look very square and very bland. Now don't get me wrong, it's supposed to look square. The whole scene is supposed to look a bit like a cavern. So it is going to give that impression, but having said that, we still want to break this back wall up a bit. So I'm thinking there's going to be some running water coming out of a slot here, running down this back wall, behind the bath, and coming out here along the bottom. We're going to have some nice uplighters maybe, and sort of a frosted glass or glass top on there. So I want this coming out roughly at eye line, which is going to be maybe the middle of these two shelves. So we're going to go over to a side view here, and now I'm just going to check before I do this. I've just got those back selected. I'm just going to hit the slice tool, and we're going to put the symmetry on. Make sure grid's on. So about the middle of these, I'm just going to say this grid line here basically. We're not going to worry too much. So this is basically where the water's going to start coming out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab that poly in the middle. I'm going to hit B. Now I'm going to click in the viewport. I'm just going to pull this back. Let's turn this snapping off. 100 mil. Let's just see. Okay, let me undo that. Right, before we do that, we're going to sort of cover our backsides a bit here. I'm going to call this glazing. Room geometry. Now I'm not sure if it's even going to be glazing, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this poly out of here, and that one as well. I'm just going to cut it, or just copy it, sorry, Control C, and I'm just going to stick it in there in case we need to make that glazing at another time. I've got the information there, and I'm going to turn that back. I'm going to drag that out of the way. Okay, so back to this. I'm just going to hit the B key, click in the viewport, and I'm just going to move that back. I think, to be honest, 100 mil is probably going to be a bit too big. So I'm going to go with 75 mil. Now the bottom needs to be coming out, because don't forget the water's going to have to run down here. So I need a bit of a slant on there, but I'm going to worry about that in a moment. This piece down the bottom here, I'm going to hit B key, click in the viewport, and I'm also going to drag that one down. .75 mil. So the water's going to run along here. Okay, so this end obviously needs to be higher than this end, if not it won't run. So I'm going to go over to edges. I'm just going to select that little piece there. I'm just going to pull this up. We'll go 20 mil. Okay, and I'm going to select that poly. I'm going to bevel it. We're going to push that one back. Now, it doesn't really matter how far you push it back, 'cause it's not going to be seen, it's off camera. But okay, we'll push it back as far as we can, just in case we ever have a low angled shot. Okay, So now when we want to put our frosted glass over the top there, don't forget we've already got our glazing. We can use that as a sort of quad, a sort of poly, rather than start having to make our own polys again. Okay. Okay, I'm not even going to delete that back. See, that poly can be deleted and that poly can be deleted, but we're going to leave them there for now, and we're going to, just in case we need to. Now this is going to run behind this bath, but so we're not going to see. We're going to have to put some sort of cover on here. Well, maybe not. If you're sitting above, it might be quite nice to see running water there. So we may not put glazing back on that piece, but that's going to definitely need to be pulled out, just so it's got something for the water to run down. Now up here, we need to do a little bit more at the top here for something for the water to obviously come out of. Okay, so I'm going to basically just grab these polys again. Okay, let's go over to a view. Okay. I'm just going to hit the slice. Now I'm turning snapping on, but I've not got any snapping mode on, so it's just using the angle snap. I'm just going to pull that across there like that. Okay, I just want to go over to the render tab and just check something quickly. I'm just making sure there is a polygon there. It's getting a bit of issues there with it's probably just the OpenGL. Okay, so this is where the water's coming in. I'm going to hit B. Basically, I'm going to pull that back as well. Now this is obviously going to be straight in the eye line, so this is not an ideal position to be having a slot, because you have to prove somehow that the water's coming down there. So we're going to have to be a bit sly here. So I'm basically going to select that back edge, that back face there. I'm just going to pull it just so this bottom edge run along here is higher than this top edge there. So just when you're looking, whatever angle you're at, because you don't forget you're going to be head height, you're not actually going to need to see a hole there, because the water's going to be coming some miraculous way from up here, sort of thing. Okay. Okay, so obviously we're going to need some sort of glazing along the bottom here, because don't forget you're going to be walking over this. So, and we're going to need some uplight. So we may even lower this down a bit more. But all these tweaks I'm just sort of making up now, so we'll leave it for there, and then when we come to put the glazing over and put the water running through there, then we'll see. Yeah, it's looking quite good, I think. I think that'll make a nice touch to the scene rather than have it totally plain. Okay. Okay, well that's that for the end of that part. That's looking good. So what we'll do when we come back in the next part, we'll start doing the lights on the ceiling. I think I mentioned I was doing it in this part, but got a bit sidetracked thinking about this groove. So we'll come back and we'll work on the lights, the downlighters. So I'll see you for that part. So bye for now.